For the last 3 years, the American people have been ravaged by inflation. That inflation, like all inflation, is man-made. That man's name is Joe Biden. Since President Biden has been president, the average electricity bill in America, the average, has gone up 27%. Louisiana gasoline, I know every state is different, but Louisiana gasoline under President Biden is up 59%. Eggs are up 79%. Bread, 30%. Coffee, 30%. Milk, 15% under President Biden. Ice cream, 26%. Housing in general is up 19% because of President Biden's inflation. Clothing, 12%. Used cars and trucks, 20%. New cars, 19%. Mortgage rates are up a staggering 160%. If you add it all up under President Biden, inflation the last 3 years has been 20% in Louisiana and 19.2% nationwide. Louisiana is not a wealthy state. The median household income in my state for a family of four is between $55,000 and $60,000 a year. Mom, dad, 2 children. That's not a lot of money when you think about it. A working family, mom and dad both work. They both have to drive to work, so they have car payments. They have a house note. They have to buy food. Sometimes they have to pay tuition for their children. As a result of President Biden's inflation, the average family in Louisiana is paying today an extra $900 a month. That's almost $11,000 a year. Now, I know that each of you makes more than $55,000 or $60,000 a year, but imagine that for a moment that you make $60,000 a year and you're the provider for your family. And all of a sudden, you've got to find an extra $11,000 a year. Wow. You know, you max out your credit cards, you go through your savings, you've spent all your STEMI checks long ago. Inflation is gutting the American people like a fish. It has become a cancer on the American dream. And quite frankly, that's why President Biden is polling right up there with hemorrhoids. I mean, the American people can't sit down and explain to you the difference between disinflation and deflation. The American people, they don't read Aristotle every day. They just get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes and try to do the right thing by their children and maybe save a little money for retirement. But they're really being hurt. Now, why? Because President Biden has spent money like it was pond water. Started with the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act. He has spent trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, money that we had to borrow. Now, unless you were playing Frisbee in the quad during Econ 101, you know, whether you're Milton Friedman or John Maynard Keynes, that when you spend this kind of money, you're going to have inflation. Dr. Jason Furman, who was a chief economic advisor to President Obama, tried to tell President Biden, said, if you do this, you're going to have inflation. Former Harvard President Larry Summers said the same thing. You don't have to be Euclid to figure this out. We're all entitled to our opinion. That's the beauty of America. You know, you're not free if you can't say what you think, and you're not free if you can't express yourself. I do not believe that there is some nationwide conspiracy between and among small business people, medium-sized business people, large business people who have conspired to raise these prices. I don't think most of these businesses wanted to have to raise their prices. They did have to, though, because their costs have gone up dramatically. And you don't have to look any further for the reason than 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I think the evidence bears that out. I don't blame President Biden. I don't blame him for trying to get reelected. I don't. Okay? When I run again, I'm going to try to get reelected. I don't blame him for trying to blame inflation on somebody else. I get that. But the truth of the matter is he's blamed inflation on everything but murder hornets. And we've still got time left. He may blame them on murder hornets. But the truth of the matter, it's his own economic policies. And his own economists tried to tell him this, and he wouldn't listen. And the American people are paying the consequences. They're going to have a say, though, this November. And everyone should vote your conscience. If dead people can vote, you can too. Vote for the candidate of your choice. But I can tell you this. The only place you're going to find lower prices is in the voting booth. It's not going to change.